And I think that would take it to the next level.
But you have to take this into account too. And I think one of the people in the room, in the chat room, brought it up about them practicing, about the players practicing. The players don't really have time to practice dunks like that, right? So when you look at these guys who are on these shows that are dunking, like these are professional dunkers. Like this is what they do for a living. You know, they go in the gym and they practice those dunks day in and day out. You know what I'm saying? NBA players, I mean, they just don't have the ability to, you know, not because they don't want to, but you also have to think about like the possibility you get injured. You know, like you're trying to do, you know, how do you explain that to your coach, to your GM, that all of a sudden you broke your leg trying to do a reverse dunk? You know, you can't explain that.
That's true.
You know,
that's a good point.
You know, you can't explain that, and they're trying to, you know, like you're trying to play for a championship. So when you're trying to play for a championship, you're not necessarily worried about being the best dunker on the planet. You know, you're worried about being the best player on the planet. You know, or you know the most, you know, contributing to your team's success. And doing a 360 windmill don't necessarily contribute to your team's success. It's still 2 points.
You're right about that. Shout out to Antoine Smitty Smith in the building. Let me know. Everybody new coming in, is the dunk contest overrated? Vince Wright, we will be talking about the AAF at some point in time tonight. I think that is a genius idea because, like I've said it numerous times, we'll talk about this throughout the show tonight. They are doing something where they're partnering with the NFL. When you try to go up against the big bad NFL, aka the big bad wolf, aka the big kid on the block that nobody, Debo, basically. The NFL is Debo. You cannot go up to Debo and just say, I'm going to create something and do it on the same days you guys do it on. That is not successful. That will never be successful. People that come up with that model should slap themselves in the face because it's not going to work out. But I think this AAF, Alliance of American Football, I think is a pretty good idea. And real quick, go ahead and give me your thoughts on that. Like I said, we will have Courtney Harden coming on the show in about 12 minutes. But give me your thoughts on it so far.
I think it's a good idea as well. You know, football, first off, is football. And I think that anytime you keep, for the most part, the standard rules of football in place, I think you can create a good product. It has some names that people are familiar with. Has some names that people are not familiar with. But the rules that they put in place to allow like more hitting and, you know, the physicality, a lot of the things that people are saying the NFL now lacks is in the AAF. And for that, it can be a viable product. Also, you know, you mentioned the timings, you know, the time that they play. They're not playing during the NFL season. So they don't have the NFL to compete with. You know, they have the NBA to compete with for that aspect. And because there's so many NBA games, you don't necessarily compete as much because people will miss NBA games to watch an NFL, you know, to watch football because they know that they can watch that game again later on. So I think that it's a good model. We'll see how it turns out over a couple years. You know, this is the first year. And, you know, always the first year, there's kinks to work out. There's things to fix. They don't have a big name player yet. So, you know, you'll wait to kind of see if that occurs. But so far, I think it's a good product.
Yeah, and perfect segue. We work together so well. Perfect segue into the Kaepernick conversation. So Kaepernick gets paid straight cash, homie. You put it all in his account immediately. Kaepernick's attorney predicts Panthers, Patriots could potentially sign him. Everybody out there, give me your thoughts on that as well. But that could potentially happen. But here's the flip side. The Alliance of American Football has already talked to Kaepernick. Supposedly, that's what the story is. I don't know if that's 100% true. But number one, do we see Kaepernick with one of these teams? I'm leaning heavily towards the Panthers. They signed Eric Reed. The ownership seems to be understanding of what their mission is and what they're doing. I could see him going there 100%. The only way I could see him going to the Patriots is if, and shout out to Kesey in the building, the only way I could see him going to the Patriots is if Tom Brady pretty much signs off on it, and if Tom Brady is kind of reversing on what he said about him playing all these years. But the AAF, I don't know if that's something he would go into, because I think he knows he still has an opportunity to possibly play in the NFL. And I believe these stories are true. If Eric Reed can get signed, and I believe Cap can get signed, we'll see what team it is and if it's true or false. But let me know what your thoughts are. You see him going possibly to the Panthers, the Patriots, or the AAF?
Well, the AAF is out the question. Like, I don't see him going to the AAF at all. And here's why. Executives, ownership in the NFL has already said that Colin Kaepernick is a starting quality caliber quarterback, period. With that being said, there's no reason for him to go to the AAF. There's no reason for him to try to go to a development league, a minor league system where he's out there trying to prove that he belongs on a bigger stage. That doesn't make any sense. Also the money factor. I think those players make every player makes $225,000, I think, or $250,000 over 3 years, I believe. Right? So It's not really a lot of money.
Yeah, that's not worth it. Especially if you tear your ACL or something, it's not worth it.
Exactly. So for him, there's no benefit for him to go to a league like that. So when you look at an NFL team, I don't know if he ever gets back on an NFL team. I would love to see him play again. But you mentioned the Panthers. I think that's an interesting fit. Seeing that they run that style of football, or that offensive style where the quarterback has the ability to run. They run the quarterback a lot. They do a lot of deep passes. And can you argue that Kaepernick might be a little more accurate than Cam Newton, because Cam Newton's accuracy is terrible? It's possible. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a short to medium passer, I think that Kaepernick is a better passer than Cam Newton. I think, Cam Newton's ability to throw the ball deep, and he can throw it extremely deep. I think that's what fits that offense. And, Kaepernick is not really a good deep ball thrower. He doesn't lead the receiver well. But I think that's an interesting fit. That would be an interesting fit for him. I don't see him at the Patriots at all. It's not a fit for the Patriots, period. Like, just his ability to read coverages and things like that is just not a good fit. So I don't know. You look at the Panthers, you look at another team who might be willing to, give him a shot at playing quarterback. Somebody that's like in a development mode, like, redevelopment mode. Even like a team like Denver, for example, who just traded for Joe Flacco, which I still don't understand.
Horrible trade.
A team like that might take a fly.
Yeah. Hashtag fire John Elway. Okay. Everybody, if anybody in here is from Denver or in Denver, they need to start that hashtag right now. What is this guy doing? Joe Flacco, Nick Foles. What are you doing? Nick Foles, not Joe Flacco. But anyway, sorry.
I'm so disappointed in that. But a team like Denver, like somebody who's a rebuild, who don't have a real, doesn't have a surefire quarterback at this time. They might take a flyer on Colin Kaepernick. But I think his chances are really, really slim to get back to the NFL. Just because, like I said, with everything that had happened, I don't think that teams are really ready to like take that shot and take on the criticism and the negative publicity that they're going to receive when they sign him.
Yeah, and I think I just hope, and I know I'm probably wrong, that people in ownership would understand that this is not it's not a distraction, really. I mean, you make it a distraction if you want to make it a distraction, but it's not. Now, I got to read a couple of comments here. Vince Wright says, bring Cap to Carolina. Another comment by Mo Cheese that I wanted to read. He said, Kaepernick may have gotten a marginal win, but to me, it feels more like putting dirty clothes under the bed. Maybe elaborate on that a little bit. But I think he was going to get paid. He was going to get paid anyway. I think, at least, he was going to get paid. So now it's the second step of it. Does he get back on the field? I think he will. Antoine Smith says, hell, they need a QB in the nation's capital. They do, because Alex Smith, the dude had, I don't know how many surgeries he had, but he possibly may not play again, which means you're going to be rolling out the season with Colt McCoy. You can't do that.
Josh Johnson.
You can't do that. Now, Josh Johnson.
Colt McCoy and Josh Johnson.
Yeah, Kaepernick could be used there. I don't see that happening, though. There's a lot of issues, especially with just using the Redskins name. I don't know if they would want to bring Kaepernick on, but I could see him playing. I do get the point of not doing the AAF. If you're going to get paid $250,000 for 3 years, that's not a lot. And if something happens to you tragic, because they're hitting freely, see, that's the other part of it. If they're hitting freely, you get a concussion, something happens to you, you really do have to think about that. Kesey says, yep, too many openings that could use him. I agree with you 100%. Shout out to DJ Knox in the building, said he's at work. Thank you for tuning in. Knox had a great show earlier, rocking out for Dr. Dre's birthday. It's officially Dre Day. All right. He never came out with an album called Dre Day, but he should have. But today is Dre Day. It's his birthday. So, we've been talking about Kaepernick for years. We've been talking about him for years. He has gotten paid. I think he still has something to give. So at the end of the day, I think he still has something. So let's move on to NBA. I want to talk about some of the guys that won some of the contests from Saturday. We got Tyjun Mack on the line. We will also have Courtney Harden coming up. He's in the chat room at pretty much every show, so he's going to be coming on as well. Jason Tatum defeats Trae Young in the Taco Bell Skills Challenge. I said on Friday that I had Jason Tatum. I think he is athletic. I think his skill is crazy compared to a lot of other players in the league. And he won it with a half-court shot. So that was one. Joe Harris. Here, first of all, I thought Joe Harris was black. I'm sorry. I guess I never seen him at all, so I just assumed Joe Harris was black. Well, he's not. He's actually of Caucasian descent or wherever. I don't know where he's from exactly. But he ends up beating Steph Curry. Steph Curry, not Seth, but Steph, Buddy Hield in the finals. We already talked about Dualu with the dunk contest. But talk about Jason Tatum and Joe Harris. Were you surprised that Joe Harris was able to beat Steph in the three-point contest?
I wouldn't say I was surprised. Joe Harris can shoot, and that goes all the way back to college, to Milwaukee. Joe Harris can shoot. He's always been able to shoot, and so the 3-point contest is one of them things where, like, if you just get on fire, like, anybody has a chance. And so, he hit 26 both. I think he hit 25 the first round, 26 the second round. He was just the most consistent. Steph finished with, what did he finish with, 20, what was it, 24? What did he finish with the second round?
Second round,
first round he shot 27, I believe.
Yeah, he had 24.
Yeah, 24 the second round, 27 the first round. And like I said, it's just about consistency. He beat him by a basket. He hit, Joe Harris hit the last 9 in that second round. You look at Steph Curry in the first round, he hit the last 10.
Yeah.
It just happens like that, man. And like I said, you get in the rhythm, and they fall. And so you got to get,